channel here over at Subscribestar. So the short version of this is everyone looks at this and goes, if this guy wasn't the color, if he wasn't blonde, if he was the same, if he was darker hued, he would have probably been invited to the White House as a hero. The narrative would have been 180 degrees. It's like, so the narrative's bullshit the whole time. I just saw the Walmart video where Walmart San Francisco security guard deletes a shoplifter. He's fighting with them. They get up, they walk away. They're outside the store. They're facing each other, and the security guard just draws fires. And it wasn't. I mean, you look at that and you're like, that's not shopkeeper's privilege. It's not self-defense. That's, I guess you could argue, continuing heat of the moment. Continuing. It's not self-defense. I mean, it's like it's rough because he's fighting. The person's walking away. I think without the loot, and he blasts her and deletes her, and the DA is not filing charges. And it's like, this is, you look at it like, this is not a good look for the security guard. It looked like someone who was just angry and just deleted somebody. That's kind of what it was. And goes, oh, so why is the DA not filing charges? Because they're the same, they have the same, they're from the same group. Oh, so is the DA filing charges with this guy? It's like, because he's blonde. It's like, this is not going to be able to continue very much longer, is it? Yeah. I mean, this kind of juxtaposition is absolutely insane. So Tim Pool, far-right extremist, donates 20 grand to support the Aryan Ubermensch and probably invasion of Poland. So it's kind of interesting because he has a change of heart on the whole subway thing. And he's, I know it's popular to hate a lot of these figures. Like everyone, they seem to jump on board hating people. It's like, just wait for all the facts to come in before you jump on hating Tim Pool or Crowder or anyone. It's like the totality of the circumstances is so convoluted. You look at it and like, all right, you can just observe and move on for a lot of this kind of stuff. But I will say Tim Pool has a lot of hate followers. Some people I think have the bell rung for Yellow Flash, EVS, and there's a couple other people who, for some reason, managed to drive a lot of these left-wing kids just out of their mind. They follow just so they could whine. They like a lot of people literally have nothing better to do. And when the Civil War hits, all these first world problems are just going to disappear because I don't think there's any pronouns in a foxhole. Inshallah, soon it will be all clean. So people hate on Tim Pool, but he does these live streams. He doesn't lead the horse. He leads the horse to water. He isn't so based himself, but the crew he has surrounding him are asking all kinds of the right questions. It's actually, for the constraints of YouTube, that's one thing people don't understand if they don't make videos, is the rules. You try to put something on YouTube, it's like, oh, your video was removed for hate, incitement to hate, or some kind of nonsense. And you put videos out there and you keep getting these things removed, and eventually you get warnings and then strikes, and then your channel's gone. It's like, oh, YouTube really has a very tight narrative. Yeah, they absolutely do, but if you're just watching videos, you don't understand how tightly they've controlled the narrative to shape things in a certain direction. And thank God Rumble and Odyssey are taking over. Anyway, so how you get to a situation like this, it's not a simple solution issue. It's like, this goes back at least 70 years to post-World War II policies, to where you get a society that's so de-evolved that you have somebody who's arrested 44 times, and like in and out of catch and release. It's like, so what happens if you have a civilization that has these catch and release policies? Don't they just go out and continue to commit more crimes? Yeah, absolutely. You go, so this is in New York, right? And I look at this, like, so why didn't New York have you're always talking about, like, we need more programs. We need a substitute for the family, substitute for the father, taxpayer-funded programs. We go, so it's New York, I think, or it's up, at least a blue city. So why didn't New York have mental institutions and programs and all this kind of stuff? And you ask that, and it's just a black hole, because nobody ever answers that question, because it comes down to, you go, so you really want catch and release. You don't believe in putting people in prison. And that's the answer. It's like, you have a large voting percentage of people who do not believe in putting people in prison. And involuntary commitment after due process for mental institutions, people who are a threat to themselves or others, you don't believe in that either, do you? You go, no, voluntary. It's all got to be voluntary. It's all got to be like reform and programs. You go, but you don't believe in, like, after due process, forcing people off the streets if they're a threat to themselves or others. And they don't. Fundamentally, they don't. So you get somebody who's arrested 44 times. Some of that was for fare evasion. That's nothing. But for assault and battery, crimes against people, you can't have a civil society and people who hurt other people out on the streets like more than once or twice. There's some diversions and warnings, but like, do you want a stable society? And you look at the left and they vote and they go, no, we don't. We fundamentally do not want people in prisons. We don't want mental institutions. It's like all these programs in New York, a left-wing city. It's like, yeah, so where were they? Oh, we don't have them. So then, I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? You want all this? They want events like this. They want a blonde guy. Like, there are people in New York, Chicago, Memphis, Detroit, St. Louis, Oakland, parts of LA. You get the idea. We're getting deleted. Like in Chicago, it's like, I think it's almost 2 a day in Chicago. People getting deleted. Do you want to stop that? No. So all the energy is going to where you found the one blonde guy who got involved in something he shouldn't have got involved in. And, you know, on a personal note, if you're anywhere, you could have avoided all this with pepper spray. Always carry a couple bottles of pepper spray. It is a great self-defense weapon, tool, at the personal level, but also in front of a jury. It looks like a self-defense weapon. It looks like somebody who's weak and afraid, who pulls out a bottle of pepper spray. I was so scared. I was feared for my life, and I thought this person was going to hurt me. I used pepper spray. It looks like a self-defense weapon, whereas opposed to you use some Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know, an arm bar or chokehold or something. That looks like, that sends the wrong optics to a jury and to the court of public opinion. That's why, like, carry pepper spray. Carry a couple bottles of pepper spray for everything from coyotes to mountain lions to two-legged coyotes. Like, you could have avoided all this with just a $3 bottle of pepper spray. That's how easy it all is. Anyway, in a sane society, somebody who's the Michael Jackson impersonator, I don't even remember his name, because like in 2 months, there'll be another George Floyd or another Michael Jackson impersonator. Like, this doesn't quite have the energy of Floyd, because everyone who's ever run on the subway on the East Coast or on Bay Area Rapid Transit in California, everyone who's on the subway knows what's up. And so that's why there's not as much energy behind this. Like, there was protests on the subway. It's like 100 people. The vibe is different because everyone's on the subway. It's like, yeah, what are we going to do about these people? If it's catch and release and they're hurting people, they push people in front of trains. They violently attack people all the time. It's like, oh, it was just a dancer on the train. It's like, no, it wasn't. It hasn't been. That was like 15. They showed some photo from 10 years ago where he was, before his kind of descent into madness, he was dancing around and doing impersonations. And then, you know, mental illness takes over. It's like, so you can't force somebody to take treatment, to pills, right? You don't want to force that. And you don't want to put them in prison, and you don't want to force involuntary commitment in a mental institution. So what do you have? Oh, you have mentally ill, dangerous people on the street. So what happens? You get events like this. So does anyone want to do anything about that? And they look at you and they go, no. There was an honest interview with Larry Krasner, who himself, I think, is a DA appointed by, that lizard person. I probably cannot say on YouTube. You remember when Newt Gingrich named the devil, and the two girls on Fox just shit their pants when he names it? And Newt Gingrich is like, he's in his 60s, he's looking at them and was like, what the hell's going on? Why can't I name this guy who's a huge DNC funder? It's like, that's not appropriate right now. We're just going to move on from that. It's like, what's going on? It's like that video is still on YouTube. It's like, it's weird how it just goes in and out of the consciousness, and it doesn't really connect with people. Anyways, I think Larry Krasner himself is one of those guys, as is, I think, Kim Fox in Chicago, $600,000 funding to get in office. He does this interview, and he goes, I ran a poll with people, and they go, what do you want to do with the increasing criminal situation in our city? And it was something like only 15% wanted law and order, wanted criminal sentences for people. They wanted programs. And he looks at the interviewers like, yeah, I know crime's out of control. What do you want me? And he's a scumbag himself, but it was a brief, honest moment where he goes, what do you want me to do? The people who are voting for this, they want this. They don't want crime and punishment. That's why their ACT Nation always goes, yeah, there's no solution to this. Like, there's no solution to this within the same system. Voting the same way got you these results. That's why I say, like, the separation is going to be the only solution. Like, if you have groups of people in these cities who legitimately do not want law and order, they want this kind of blonde guy to be the victim, and they want to blow up over this kind of stuff, and while simultaneously ignoring stuff like Chicago crime, we got to separate, like, by by fact as well as by law. It's separated into different regions of the country. It's like that's an enormous undertaking to say, oh, we have to form separate regions with borders and stuff. It's like, is that going to be done? It will be done peacefully and it will be done constitutionally. It will be done constitutionally. Otherwise, you just have more of this. And at some point, you go, oh, yeah, but there's groups of people who want to live in New York and Chicago and Detroit. They want that kind of stuff. They're absolutely fine with that. And then there's people who don't. You go, well, you're going to have to set up, essentially borders so you can have a different type of society. Like this big 50-state model where it's not really 50 states, it's just one federal model, has got to go. You got to try to have something else. Anyway, that's as careful a video I think I can make for YouTube. Click links to join us over at Subscribestar, where I put the less careful videos over there, talking about many other things. Thanks everyone's support over there, and I'll see you guys all next episode.